over? Is it already over? I don't think it's over. All right, everybody, good evening to Small Town Underground. It is Wednesday, October the 15th, 2025, and I have a very special guest with me this evening. As you can see, a lot of you guys know him. A lot of you guys have read his stuff, and man, what an awesome writer. I'm just super excited tonight to be hosting Hank Sullivan. And for those of you who don't know him, you're in for a treat tonight. A very, very big truth teller, very good journalist, and I'm just excited to get into a lot of things with him tonight. If you are seeing this for the first time, thank you for joining, and a lot of people that are subscribing. Thank you to the people that are not subscribing but following and reaching out. And those of you that are subscribing to Facebook, I really appreciate it, man. It's like, that's really, really cool. Even that $1 a month just helps like everything. So again, thank y'all for your support. And please help us share this out to groups everywhere. We really want to focus on Forsyth County tonight because as you're going to find out here in a second, Hank has kind of put his money where his mouth is, and he is being the change that we all want to see. He's going to be running for his District 1 commissioner position in Forsyth County, and that's what this is all about. Is in order to change the status quo and to get rid of the people that lie to your face and stab you behind your back, you've got to take the reins and become that person that's going to actually bring the transparency, the accountability, all of these things that we hold near and dear to our heart that are just mere talking points for professional politicians. So, wow. Welcome to the show. Hank, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, and let me just start off by sending credit your way. I know how difficult it is to be running a life and have a family, and then on top of that, here you're doing everything that you can do on a regular basis to save our country and save our way of life, and all credit going back to you and all the other citizen journalists that do the same thing. The difficult thing beyond what your presence and your face and your words are and all that, the difficult thing is to do this on a regular schedule. That's one of the reasons why I try to stay away from that, because I don't really have a regular schedule. My writing is when I can do it, and I do it early in the morning, I do it at night. It's whenever I can do it, but it's difficult to attach myself to a regular schedule. But you do that, and all credit goes to you for doing that, and the success that you're having is remarkable, and I appreciate being a guest on your show.
Well, thank you, man. I a little secret, not really. I mean, when I was a kid, I always kind of wanted to be like an English or a history teacher. I always kind of excelled at history, but I wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to write. I used to write little screenplays and do movies in high school, but that was my passion, was writing. And I just never could finish anything. I could just start and finish. And one of these days I would just like to I've actually thought about doing my own Substack, and not even a part of this, but just like writing completely different, but that's always a passion. I love to read. I don't read near enough, but when I do read it, I do go through a lot of Substack. I think it's a great app, and I've actually got some friends that are activist journalists that some of their old stuff has died out. Now they're on Substack. It's great. And but yeah, again, I think it takes all of us. I have no idea what I'm doing. We're just here and we're just trying to push forward, right? And
well, I want a thankless job. I mean, it's not like you're on the nightly news every night and you get a paycheck for doing this. This is all volunteer work that you do.
Yeah, well, I mean, I started out thinking that, in 6 months or something, somebody great was just going to come along and do this, and not saying I'm better at all, but I'm just saying, like, I just figured I would kind of wilt away in the shadows, and it just keeps growing. And I said, well, as long as long as it's growing, we're going to keep doing it. So,
Well, you're adding the energy for it, and you're doing a great job, and it's really really remarkable.
well, I appreciate it. I think we got some of the greatest people that's ever lived in America in this state fighting. And that's one thing I wanted to kind of bring up was, so how you came onto my radar, Mr. Sullivan, was you were. I was.
Hank.
I know. I was reading a lot, trying to figure out. I was one of these kind of, younger guys in the Republican Party trying to figure it out. I'm taking the direction from, some of my peers about everybody's whispering in the back of the room like, oh, we can't stand Brian Kemp or Governor Kemp, and then publicly or whatever, it was like, oh my God, you can't say that. Don't do that. You can't. It was always kind of a shutdown. It's like, wait a minute, like we're supposed to be focusing on the reality of the situation here. We all kind of held our nose in 22, and I was big in 2A, so we had him sign the constitutional carry while he gritted his teeth. But anyway, so here you come in with this multi-part Substack, and that's really how I found out about Substack and everything. Somebody sent me this guy named Hank Sullivan, and it was like, and I read it, and it was so in depth and just laid things out so much. And of course, I'm getting hit with incorporation, all of your work on incorporation. It was absolutely groundbreaking. And, I follow some of my local writers. There's a guy named Elliot Pierce that writes around here. And anyway, I love to read this kind of stuff. But that was my beginning into you. And so I want you to kind of go into that. How did you get into all this? When did you decide to start? And just tell us your story.
I think in everybody's life, there are moments where your life would either go this way or go that way. And I can recall back about 1998 or so, my wife and I visited Hawaii, and we went to the National Cemetery of the Pacific, and they call it Punch Bowl Cemetery. It's in an extinct volcano.
Yeah, I've been there.
And so, have you been there?
I've been to the Punch Bowl. Yes,
you know
yes.
what I'm talking about.
The huge winds where you can just stand up on the rocks and the wind just blows you back. Yeah.
So do you remember the altar up there at the very top?
Yes.
And you remember what was written on that altar?
No, I do not.
Probably not. Probably not. I'll remind you. It said, "The solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom." And so out there in this, and I'm so glad you've been there. That is so cool. It even tells me who you are that you've been there, because not many people go to that. But at any rate, then you will remember, you'll see all of the graves out there. They're all pointed to the altar, to where for all eternity, those individuals who fought and died for freedom, for this country and the American way of life, they're all continually reminded of why that was important and why they did that. And the solemn pride that must be theirs to have laid so costly a sacrifice as their lives on the altar of freedom. And that was the beginning of kind of an exploration. I didn't know who wrote that, but a couple of years later, I found out who wrote that. I was watching Saving Private Ryan, one of the few movies I actually went to a theater to see. Right. And in that movie, the guy that plays General Marshall, he pulls this letter out from his desk and he reads it, and it turns out it was the letter from the letter to Mrs. Bixby, written by Abraham Lincoln, and she was the mother of 5 sons who had died gloriously on the field of battle, and it's one of the most incredible letters that I've ever read. And at the end, it says, "The solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom." And so I had to know more about the man who wrote that. I needed to learn, what else did this man write? Everybody knows about the Gettysburg Address, but only in a cursory manner. Once you actually parse that out, those 272 words, then all of a sudden it blossoms into this incredible message that he had left for all Americans and really the entire world to begin to understand what the American experience is really all about, and the relationship between this country and God, and the way that God has ordained this nation in the Declaration of Independence. And so I picked up a copy of Lincoln's Speeches and Writings, and it's like that thick. It's, I don't know how many millions of words it is, but it starts back at about 1837 and with his first speech, because even those days they didn't have any way of recording voices, of course, but they had reporters, and the reporters knew shorthand. And so the reporters would sit there and take down everything that, say, a politician or a speech maker would make, and then they would put it into the newspapers. And so it's all there, and it was all there to be discovered. And so I read in depth and just contemplated this lifelong experience that Abraham Lincoln had laid out for all posterity. Anybody can pick this up, and anyone can put the mental energy in to understand what it was that he was saying. But everything that he wrote about, every speech he gave, was grounded in one thing, and that was the Declaration of Independence, not the Constitution. Yes, it was, but not. Right. It was the Declaration of Independence and the importance of the Declaration of Independence. And the deeper and deeper that I got into his speeches and writings, it occurred to me that, hey, I'm uncovering something here that very few people know. And so I decided that when I was so far into this, I decided that I was going to try to write down what it was that I was learning, so that at least it'll be in the Library of Congress. If anybody ever wants to pick it up and read it, it will be there. It'll still be in this world when I'm not here. And so I decided to write a book.
Okay.
And the name of the book was In a Larger Sense, which comes right out of the Gettysburg Address. Rediscovering Lincoln's America and Restoring American Principles. I self-published this book in 2004. So that's been over 20 years ago.
Wow.
But I would point to this, that my style of writing, the way that I write, the depth nature of everything that I write, and the way that I even think politically, is all grounded in that 3 years of learning what this nation was through the eyes of Abraham Lincoln. And so maybe if what I put out there resonates with people who read it, I'm going to credit Lincoln, and I believe he was inspired by the Almighty to write what he did, when he did, the way that he did, to explain everything that he did during the Civil War and leading up to the Civil War. And so that's kind of where I come from. It's not me. It's this experience. I just have this understanding that very few have about what this nation really is, because I did the work to get there.
Right.
Wow, that's huge. I never knew that you wrote a book. I'm going to order it tonight right after we get off of this. Please tell me it's still in print.
This is a press clipping that was out of the Forsyth County News. And this would have been 2004. It was an article written by Harris Blackwood. Some people will remember his name. He was a local reporter, and he did things, I think, under the Carter administration, and did various things. So he wrote this article about me having written this book. And before I came down here, I saw it on the wall. I said, well, that's a little press clipping. I'm just bringing that down there. That was in the Forsyth County News back in 2004, and it's just still sitting on a blackboard up there.
Got you. That's incredible, man. That is absolutely incredible. It sounds to me like
from somewhere. It's not coming from me.
Well, through God, the awakening. I think that
again, not everybody can have that prolific awakening, such as what you're talking about, but we all go through it, where we're just kind of sitting around. I mean, if you'd have told me that I would be doing this several years ago, I would have said you're full of it. I mean, like, are you kidding me? Never in my wildest imagination, but there really is a truly great awakening that's happening in this nation, because I believe that, you talk about Abraham Lincoln, the Civil War, all the times that this nation, the pains of the birth of this nation, and now, where we're at now, and you've seen more than I have, civil rights movement, all of these different transitions, and it seems like we're on the precipice of, yes, another revolution, in many, many ways, with artificial intelligence, with all of our political, societal problems we have. So I think everybody kind of, to get to this point, you go through this awakening, and I don't know any other way to be at the moment. It's like we either stand up and fight against this tyranny that's all around us, or we're just going to let it slip off into the sea. I mean, would you agree?
It is. It is a tyranny. It's a tyranny at every level. And that's one of the reasons why I fight against the growth of government, because government is inherently corrupt. I don't care what happens with it. It's inherently corrupt. And the bigger it is, the more corrupt it is. Mm-hmm. And I don't care what level of government you're talking about. That's just what it is. That's how it ends up. And our politicians, God bless them, they go into it for all the right reasons, and the next thing you know, they end up going into a room and they hear things that they wish they never heard, and it changes. Everything changes at that point. And then the ego starts filling in the voids where I thought, well, I was only going to do this for one term. I was just going to give back a little bit. Next thing you know, they get caught up in it, and all of a sudden they've got to succeed, and they got to compete at it. And that means they got to start lying to people, because they got to tell people what they want to hear. And so it's just this natural weakness of the human mind and the human soul in a fallen world.
Well, you're right. And one thing that I've learned from you in my journey of activism is to ask that question about how inherent things are. In other words, you start, especially if you pay attention to history, and you start seeing cycles, history repeating itself, and so often and so on. Yes. And I often ask this question: how much of this is actually inherent? Even if we had a small government and no corruption, would artificial intelligence be the inherent future? And I ask myself that a lot, because, you get so many people in power, just like we're talking about. You get it straightened out, and then how long until it starts to falter again? Why can't we put safeguards in place? Why can't we do things right? And that's a question that just nags at me all the time, because
it's a fallen world.
Yeah.
See, everything that you're describing is a given. It's not anything that happens to a good place. It's a fallen world. And so because man is fallen and needs redemption, then even when man realizes that, he's still imperfect and is subject to these worldly influences. And so our goal is to try to dissociate ourselves from those worldly influences and to be influenced from maybe a better world, a more perfect place, and a perfect existence. And so there's a philosophical basis behind anything that I do and say or act, and politically it is based upon a worldview that I have, that I guess everybody has their own little brand of what they understand to be true, and they have to adhere to that. And that's what I do too. Mm-hmm. I try my best to adhere to what I believe I understand to be true, and then operate that way. Right. And then I try to operate on these inclinations, because moment by moment in this life, you have these thoughts, you have these inclinations. And once you've given God the permission to speak to you and to communicate with you, then you also have to be open to what is he saying? Did this come from God? Did this come from me? Am I thinking about this? But I always think if it's really a good thing, a positive thing, then it's probably coming from God. And I always tell people, especially when we're talking about trying to save a country that's ordained by God, that you got to listen to that voice. You got to listen to what that voice is telling you. And when you do listen, act on it immediately. When you hear that voice, and I'm sure this is probably ringing true with you, because I see what you're doing, and that came to you in a voice. Some voice spoke to you, and it said, get on the air tonight. Prepare, get your ducks in a row, get on the air, and you have something to say, and then get out there and do it. And you did it, and that's what I tell everybody. That's what they got to do. So here it is. I've sworn off ever running for public office. And all of a sudden I'm hearing this voice in my head that it's really more than in my head. I believe it's in my heart, because honest to goodness, I think I know what the problems are here in this little area of the world as good as anyone. And I think I'm probably as prepared as anyone to deal with it. And probably when I look at it and I look around, I go, well, who is more prepared to do this? Well, right. Probably no one. So that just means that, okay, whether I win or lose, right. I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm going to give it. I'm not going to come at this lukewarm. I'm going to come at it hot, and I'm going to try to win this thing and then make a difference in my community. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I've been, I don't know, going through this political battlefield, and some folks just say, well, you've got to be real careful about how you deal with politicians, and you've got to maintain a sort of a friendship with them and do that. And I'm like, how has that worked so far? Like, no, if you're having to compromise on what is right and true constantly just to get a foot in the door, I'm to the point where I don't even want to hear it any longer. This whole party system thing that we have going on, where we have to go through the circus of these politicians running, and I'm talking about we never get anywhere ahead. And I'm a big proponent of the Freedom Caucus personally, and I think, why can't we get more people that stand on those type of principles? Because to me, the last legislative session was one of the worst I've ever seen, and I'm scared to go into January with a new one. But again, I just don't understand, and especially when you have these golden opportunities for these sort of weaker politicians to make their stand right now, when you have the most momentum and the most people behind you, and it's like nothing. Are they that bought and paid for? Is everything that rigged that they can't even just do the right thing?
Yeah, I remember years ago, I say years ago, over probably a decade or so ago, I went with some friends to a seminar, and it was a political seminar. It was talking about how you deal with politicians. And I tell you what, this guy filled me up with basic truths that I've never forgotten. Politicians understand one thing, and that's political fear.
Right.
That's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. They don't want to be shown up. They don't want anybody to show them up in front of the public. They don't want the truth told about them. That's the one thing they fear, is the light of truth shined on what they've done.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm going to play in this sphere, then that's really probably my gift. Yes. And given that, freely I receive, then freely I must give as well. And right. I've always been that way. I don't. My Substacks, I don't charge like anybody would pay for it. I don't know, but I don't charge for anything, because it came to me free,
mm-hmm.
and then it goes to people freely as well. It's just part of what I'm supposed to do in this world, I believe.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel the same way. I mean, people have always asked me, like, well, are you going to buy ads to boost? And I'm like, no, I just want to grow organically or just go home. Like, yes. I'm not here to gain followers and try to monetize. No, that's not what this is about. Because again, you said it yourself, I felt like I was led to do this. And yes. I've listened to these voices, and, I go so far as to try to not make too many plans, because I believe in a providence from the Lord. Just a simple few texts and things that come up, and all of a sudden you have a show. It's not like I want to be like disorganized, but I don't ever want to be the center point of my work. It needs to come from a place, and everything has its time and place, right? So, 100%. But I want to ask you. I've learned Georgia seems to be an absolute ground zero for just. I call it the WEF state, the WEF state. I mean, we're supposed to be Republicans. We're supposed to be pro-human. We're supposed to be safeguarding our Constitution. We're supposed to be doing things that are proactive for nature and the environment and our communities. And it just seems like we are completely, totally backwards. And what's worse is that none of these people that are supposedly on our side even will talk to us. They will run away from us at any given point. And these are people that love God and they're Christians and they attend Mass and do all these things, yet they will not even face us. What do you make of what our current state of Georgia is?
I don't think it's just Georgia.
Right.
Georgia in particular is probably it's probably under attack so much because the other side has a real chance to prevail here. But it all boils down to, believe it or not, it all boils down to our financial system and the way that money is created. I remember years ago, I went to a talk. I guess it was a forum, and Karen Handel was running for Senate against David Perdue, and David ended up winning. But I ended up in an elevator alone with Miss Handel, and I said, "You mind if I ask you a question?" And she said, "No, go ahead." I said, "Do you know how money is created?" It's kind of out of the air there. And she said, yeah. And she goes, "Why, yes, but I don't know why you ask." I said, "Well, that's when the doors open." And I said, "Well, if you really did know, you would know why I asked." And I let her go out first, but that's really the
Right.
truth, because the way that the power in our country and in the world works, and you mentioned the WEF, is that private hands create our money supply, and they loan it into circulation. The government does not create money. The government only creates debt to use as collateral for the private issuance of money. And private banks on Wall Street issue our money supply, and they loan it into circulation. That's how this system works. Yep. And so when you have private banks that can create money out of the air and loan it into circulation, they can also channel it wherever they want it to go. And so if they want it to go to Georgia because they've got a particular agenda in Georgia, then that's what they do. They find ways to channel these resources wherever they want them in order to fulfill whatever the board of directors decides that they want to do. And it's more than just the banks, though. It's all the corporates. It's the military industrial complex. It's big pharma. It's big ag. It's everything. See, the whole system is based upon the private control of not only our money supply, but the private control of the government. Well, how do they do that? Well, they control the money, they control the government. And so the corporations, if they want to influence the government, what do? Well, they take out a loan. They take out a loan from their Wall Street bank buddies, and they take that and they place the bets on a particular politician that has sworn allegiance to them. And then that's how our government is owned, bought, and paid for in Washington, D.C. There's very few people in Washington, D.C. who can't righteously claim that they're not owned and operated by the corporatocracy.
Yes.
And then what that really is, and people, when you use this word, is kind of like if you're going to use the word Hitler, then other people tune you out. But what this really is it is a corporate fascism corporations own and operate this country.
Yes.
We are the ones that pay the interest back to the
That's
banks.
right.
We are the slaves and they are the masters,
Yeah.
and that's how this works.
Yeah. Man.
Georgia is no different, but Georgia is a borderline state in our elections, and so it's so close one way or the other. You just pump enough money in here and pump enough influence into, say, the Secretary of State's office or the governor's office, or the Georgia Republican Party. Right. Then all of a sudden you've got some real power there, and that's how they operate. Mr. George Soros, he's not rich. He's a conduit.
Right.
That's all he is. He's a conduit. They learned early on, this man will do anything we tell him to do, yes, as long as we give him what he wants. And so that's who he is. And that's how all this money flows into the system. So maybe I got off on a tangent there, but
no, you're 100% correct.
Big picture. And then probably, I guess it would have been 2013. That's when I was asked to come out and speak on the Federal Reserve and what that system really is. And so that's how I got into public speaking in the first place, was to try to, go into tea parties or go into different, even some Republican parties, even though, they kind of like, oh, he's a conspiracy theorist and all that. But you know what? I'm still here, and they're long gone.
Yeah, right. Now, I've seen some of your speeches before when you go into Gulf and Tonkin and different things and stuff that I've been studying for years, because it's the truth. The more you realize just how rigged everything is just given our money situation, though. What do you think might be an answer out of this kind of fiat debt-based system? A lot of people are looking at blockchain technologies. Obviously, we're looking at digital currency. Everyone should understand how dangerous a central bank digital currency is. But have you been studying any of this, or is there a way out of this system where we can kind of remove that corporatocracy?
Yeah, I would say that now there's some crazy things going on right now in precious metals, as you know, gold and silver. I mean,
yes,
it's
skyrocketing.
And if you own some, then you're really happy.
Right.
But so there's something going on there because the central banks of the world are buying up all the available gold. So what does that mean? I mean, it seems to mean to me that the powers that be believe that we're going to go back onto a gold standard, in which case that opens up a certain door to a certain set of possible solutions. But the people that are buying up the gold, they're not interested in the solution. The central banks are not interested in the solution. They're interested in maintaining their power. So I don't know how that's going to work out, except for people who are well-heeled in gold. And then silver is a different kind of deal, where silver is used in industry. And there's, from what I understand, I mean, all the silver has been bought up. You have all these data centers that they're trying to put out there to promote AI. Well, the data centers, they all need an incredible amount of silver, and so that's just taking off. So that itself, that gold and silver are in such demand right now, and the financial dynamic in there is introducing an entirely new set of possibilities. But I will tell you what my age-old theory is, and that is that rather than if the government can create, say, debt in order to back the issuance of currency for private banks to use as collateral against the issuance of currency, then the government can create the money.
Right. Yes, of course.
So, and so if the government creates the money, then what is really, I know this sounds kind of silly, and this is not what I would do, but if the government can create the money, why can't it just create the money and pay off the debt?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that is not what I would do.
Right.
But at least not overnight. But instead of the banks creating money, the banks ought to have to borrow the money from the government and pay the government the interest on the money supply that we pay the banks.
Yeah.
And if that's the way that worked, then all of a sudden we don't need taxation because the money supply is being issued by the government. So there's automatically this income that flows from the interest on the money supply. But back in 1913, they changed all that.
Yes.
But that's how you do it. The government, as its debts come due, the government could very easily just create the money and pay off those debts. And when they do that, they would pay it off with a different kind of currency. They would pay it off with government currency, with U.S. notes rather than Federal Reserve notes. And when you delve into the system and you understand how the system works, when a debt is paid off to a bank, the money associated with that debt, those dollars, are extinguished. They go away. So if the government, for example, if they created the money at the U.S. Treasury Department, every time a Treasury bill was due to be paid off, you just issue the U.S. note to pay it off. Well, that note then goes to ultimately pays off the dollars, the Federal Reserve dollars by which it was borrowed in the first place. So it's not inflationary to do that. You're just exchanging currency. And that's what they did at the very beginning of the Federal Reserve System in order to change over from U.S. notes to Federal Reserve notes. It's just a matter of migrating back to that system. And then you have a whole new set of beneficiaries of the system, and the beneficiaries are really the American people rather than private banks, because it's the people's government that they no longer have to be taxed in order to support.
Yes. I mean, 100%. I follow you. I agree with you. I've studied some of this before. You're absolutely right. And here we are in a country that is like as a corporatocracy. The Federal Reserve is a private banking institute that creates its own money. We are overtaxed to death in every level, and it's like there's no end in sight. It goes to the
banks.
It doesn't go back to the people.
The Treasury Department is just the collection agency.
Right. So yeah, it's
the
serfdom.
IRS is the collection agency for Wall Street banks.
Yeah,
that's how that whole thing works.
Exactly. And so that's been a hot topic this year about taxes. You know, we have a candidate for governor that's kind of quid pro quoing. If you vote me in, I'm going to do it with income tax. We all know property tax is a major sin tax. Our whole education system depends on it. I mean, why can't we? It seems like, okay, we have Donald Trump in this White House, and we've got some, why can we not just hammer this thing out and fix it right now? That's my biggest problem. It seems like we could put Hank Sullivan, you in the room with Musk and everybody else, and say, give me 30 minutes to fix this, and we could just do it.
Well, it's a game of numbers, though.
Yeah.
Whether it's your local elections, whether it's your local party, even inside the party, it's a game of numbers. It's whoever shows up, they're going to control. I say they are. I mean, look at the Dalton Convention, but still, if everything is on the up and up, then it's a matter of whoever shows up when the votes are counted. Then those decisions are made that way, and so it really is this democratic republic. I say it's not a democracy, but we have democratic systems in place that, as long as they worked well, I think we could make a lot more inroads than we have. But
no, I agree. Man, we like I said, this is the kind of energy we need going into some of our commission boards. I'm telling you, it's a wreck everywhere. Especially a lot of us watched last year. All of our property taxes go up like crazy. We've got new blood in, but it just seems like same old. So, you have decided that you're going to step up to this plate and you're going to run for your commission spot. So let's talk a little bit about that. For Forsyth County, what do you see going on?
Well, I've seen just incredibly bad decisions being made by our county commission. Just awful decisions. And I keep wondering, how can anybody be this? It's hard to say the S word, but it's hard to it's hard to imagine people making some of the decisions that they've been making here. And then I see, when I uncover evidence that key information that should have been afforded commissioners to make these huge decisions for our county, the information was being withheld from them and then disclosed at the last moment, right before they're going to vote to say build this colossal administration complex outside of the county seat. And two of our commissioners said they found out about it that day, the day of the vote, when our county attorney and our county chairman and our county manager, they had known it for at least 11 months. Well, knowing that, why? There's no accountability. No. Why didn't the chairman say anything? Well, he said, well, he was told that everybody knew that. He was told that everybody knew that. So he just assumed, even though no one ever broached the subject that, hey, we can't vote anywhere outside of the county seat. Nobody ever broached that subject. They just, I just assumed that everybody knew that.
Of course.
And so then our county manager, he knows about it 11 months ahead of time. He's told it by the county attorney. Well, why didn't the county attorney, hey, call up each one of the county commissioners? Hey, I just found this out. I apologize, but something you need to know about that piece of property out there that's not in the county seat. You're not going to be able to hold meetings there.
Right.
Why was that not said? Well, I mean, I'm just sitting there watching the movie with everybody else.
Right.
I mean, how do you interpret that? Well, I interpret it that they didn't want them to know that.
Of course not. So,
because it would have been too easy to convey that information.
Absolutely.
So why didn't they want them to know that? Well, let's start asking some more questions. Well, who owned the property that the thing went on in the first place? Well, we find out who owned the property. Well, then we find out that he's in cahoots with this guy, and this guy's in cahoots with this guy. Yes. And then this guy is in cahoots with who was the commissioner of that area, which would be the area that I'm running for commissioner in. And so there's just no accountability whatsoever down here on virtually anything, and they're spending money like drunken sailors. These are people that say that they are conservative Republicans. No, they're not conservative Republicans. These people, if they were conservative before they spend $140 million on an infrastructure project, they're going to put it out for a referendum.
Yes,
they're going to let the people decide whether we need that administration complex over here, because they're the ones that have to pay for it. And if you look back, the last administration building that was built down here, it was built in 1995 for $4.6 million. You know, for that measly amount of money that administration building cost, you know what they did? They put it out on a referendum. And guess what? The referendum was turned down the first time.
Wow.
They had to put it out for a second time and make the case to the people.
Right.
Well, that's how you're supposed to operate in a local county or municipality, whatever it is. If you're going to spend that much money, well, look, we had 3 people, and their names are Alfred John, Laura Simonson, and Carrie Hill, my representative, my commissioner. 3 people made a decision for 280,000 people to build this where they're building it.
Right.
So those 3 people should be in hot water, but 2 of them were just reelected.
Of course. Of course.
Are you kidding me?
Yes.
So the third one, Carrie Hill, all right, she's in my district. I'm the one that's been calling all this out. I'm the one that's been publishing all this. I'm the one that's been doing the research. I'm the one that's been talking about it. So by golly, I guess I'm the one that has to try to take her out, I guess.
Yes.
It's not that I want to do this. No. This is not in my plans, but it just boils down to, honest to goodness, I guess I'm the most qualified person to do this. So that's why I'm doing it.
And I'm very glad you are. I will tell you my experience on commission boards of education. What it seems to me like is that
the public gets a vote for your commissioner, your precinct commissioners, your boards of education, and it's all fine and dandy. But what happens is there's a lot of bureaucratic appointee positions that are above them that work for, so say, the Chamber of Commerce, the Joint Development Authorities, the Greater Development Authorities, and all of these people seem to have their marching orders in kind of lockstep when it comes to taxes, when it comes to things that are going into counties. And so virtually what ends up happening, like you said, you might get a couple of their, the people that are on their same side or whatever will know about a project, and they'll keep it under wraps, and they'll do all these things behind the scenes, like a data center, for example. And then all of a sudden, they'll just spring it on a week before it's got to be voted, and everybody's going, I didn't know about it. And then when the people get mad, or when the people start questioning, or when they actually start making a difference in the situation, it turns into, well, I'm sorry, I can't do anything because they'll arrest me or they'll take me to court over litigation. And I'm sitting here scratching my head going, we voted you in to do the job, and you're telling me that there's a bureaucratic appointee up above you that's telling you what to do. This whole thing seems rigged, and it's like, what is the point if you can't do your own job? Am I out of line for thinking this?
No, absolutely not. This whole thing, it reeks of being rigged.
Yes.
And so I've it occurred to me, I don't know, what is it, a year and a half or so ago, that our government in this county is not necessarily being run by the 5 people who were elected.
Yes,
in there. Mm-hmm. There's an entire club, an establishment here that is working with these people and among these people. And just think of how that might work out for someone who has control over zonings and future zonings, yes, and the value of land and things like that. I can't sit here and point to any particular evidence that says this was done here for that, but you look at the entirety of it, and there's just so much possibility.
Yes.
And I've said this many times, that government is a fountainhead of riches, mm-hmm, for anyone who can surreptitiously channel resources,
yes,
from the government into certain areas of the economy.
Yeah, you get quite a bit of people in construction that want to be on those commission boards. It makes you wonder why.
Well, I'm in construction, but
hey, I get it. I'm not pointing, exactly, but I'm saying that's what the status quo has been, right? We've had uneducated people that were just looking out for themselves, right? What kind of deals could they make? And we, a bunch of us, you and me, and it's all these other people have kind of come in and said, hey, we got to stop this business as usual. It's gotten too far out of control. There's way too much of this bureaucracy going on here, and they're scared of that, and they don't know how else to be. I don't know if you followed Mark Swanson on the battles he's facing in Floyd County, but he literally had stopped their commission board from excising a tax because he literally showed up to a meeting, asked 2 questions, and pointed out 2 laws, and they had to stop that meeting and restructure their tax meeting based on the fact they've been doing it wrong for 25 years, all because somebody pointed out the fact that, hey, you are doing this wrong. And that's business as usual. These people have been able to come and go, and we the people have been asleep at the wheel.
Yes.
And now is the time, and like I said, you are running for commissioner. You're gonna try to go in there and bring your integrity, your accountability, and fix things, and that's what we need more of, man.
Yeah, so I can tell you, they don't want me there.
Of course not. Of course.
No. They do not want me in that room. I guarantee it. They do not want me in that room, and that's probably the biggest reason. If I could say to anyone out there who's going to be voting, that you need me in that room. I guarantee you need me in that room, because I like I said, I'm not going to go at this lukewarm.
Yes,
I'm going to go at this and like I'm killing snakes.
And
that's essentially what this is. You got to go in there killing snakes, and so that's where I'm coming from. If left to its own devices, government grows by its own decisions. And so we need to have a different layer of decisions that not a different layer, I guess, but we need to stop some of those decisions.
Absolutely.
So when government builds a building, it's got to maintain that building. Then it's got to hire the people to maintain the building. Then they got to hire the people to manage the people to maintain the building.
Right.
That's how that automatically happens. And so you have this big administration colossal that they're building out there on Freedom Parkway. Well, imagine all the jobs just maintaining that thing. Government grows because government grows. So the purpose, one of my purposes is that no, anything that is going to grow this government is going to be an automatic no from me.
Yeah.
Because we can find the resources to do the things that are really essential, but we don't need to be growing this thing.
Right.
One of the reasons why that the administration building is as large as it is because according to our county manager, that they'll be able to double the number of employees that they have. Oh, great.
My Lord. Oh,
Let's do that.
Double the
what a
number
great idea. And then we're going to need to build another building for the overflow. Okay, let's make this government just as big as we can.
They just raise property taxes and raise income tax and then put 3 more flossed and sploss tax on the people, and it's for your own good, people. This is a joke. I'm telling you. Oh, my God, it's just enough to make you sick. Absolutely, Hank. Well, again, man, and we'll go to comments here in just a minute. We've got a lot of people watching tonight. A lot of people
good.
A lot of people have put some comments down, so we'll get to those. But
while I got a bunch of people out there, let me make sure that they know that they can get all my writings at hanksullivan.substack.com. That's hanksullivan.substack.com, and I don't know, I've got 300 or 400 articles going back for many years on that, and so if they want to know about the Federal Reserve, I've already done the work. It's right there for you.
I'm telling you, folks, if you're not subscribed to Hank Sullivan, and especially if you live in Georgia, man, you are missing out. He has some of the most incredible Substack articles I've ever read, and like some, I mean, and even the long ones, man, you can't put them down. I mean, you're very articulate, and you get to the point, and you go to the places that make people uncomfortable because it's the truth. It's the truth of the matter. It's the little conversations that nobody wants to have, and the kind that get you slapped on the hand, for talking about. But it's very vital information. So, absolutely. So, all right, guys. So, we'll go start at the comments. Carol Streeter, good to see you. Angel Rosario says you have the all-star player tonight. So, I agree.
Oh, well, Angel's an all-star player.
Yeah, Angel's
so
great.
I take that as a what? Yeah, good, because Angel's, he's the best.
He's a good one. Charles Stoker says you are a rock star. Let's see.
Charles is he's a great man.
Yep, and you got Antonio Jones. I think is great. Antonio Jones, my boy.
Love Antonio.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I'm sure some of my enemies have come on there. Come on. There's some.
It's so funny to me. I get a lot of people that watch the show, but I don't get too many enemies that come in here. Or at least, I don't know why, but. We're open discussion.
We're not the enemies. It's just we see things differently.
Right. Okay. Shannon Weimer says Hank is the man. We love Shannon Weimer as well.
Hey, Shannon.
Let's see. Let me go down here. Hank Angel says Hank got me started, and yes, I bought the very book he mentioned. So that's great. I didn't know you wrote a book, so I'm actually going to order that tonight. So that's great. Hank says, I can't look past Abe's war with his own people. So, all right, Charles.
Yeah, don't even go there, Charles.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Vortex Eagle Patriot says, we love Hank Sullivan. You're getting a lot of love tonight, man. A lot of love. So that's good. That's good. Go Hank from Jeff Conley.
Thanks,
Blank McMillan says, Hank, thank you, Hank. Love you, your Substack. Absolutely. Happiness Jamie says, 2 amazing real patriots. Thank you, Happiness Jamie.
Oh, thank you, Jamie.
And your work is also featured on War Room Georgia, so go to War Room Georgia as always and check that out. And Happiness Jamie says, I was called to Georgia. Sometimes I'm so close to the state line, I think every day about just moving on over to Tennessee. I'm telling you, it'll wear you out in this state. But that's just, we can't just tuck and run.
That'd be a cop out.
I gotta stay in this game.
Stay in the fight.
Exactly. Let's see here. Michael Proctor says Georgia politicians are either corrupt or blackmailed. Either way is dangerous. I mean, it certainly seems that way. The more I learn. My state senator Colt Moore was assaulted at the Capitol last year. We all know this, and every time you go back and watch the video and just watch the fact that you've got grown men, grown politicians that know this is fixing to happen, and they're walking in there like elementary students ready to see a fight at the water fountain. And it's just like, one of you people, not one of you guys, not even the lieutenant governor could have stopped that from just the nonsense. It's ridiculous to me. I'll never get over that.
It's one thing that if you don't know what to do at the time, I can kind of get that a little bit. People always say something that you're not expecting them to say, and you don't really know how to act or react to it. But sooner or later, you got to figure out what happened and come clean.
That's right. Amen to that. Yes. Let's see here. Oh, Lucretia Hughes, lovely Lucretia Hughes in the house. She says, "Hey, Hank and Roy. Hey, Lucretia."
Hey, Lucretia.
Absolutely had a fabulous time with her at our camp out. She lays down the fire so much. I mean, it's just constant cold chills with Lucretia, but we love you, Lucretia. Let's see here. Lanier Party Tea Party Page is how I learned under Hank. So very nice. You do have an extensive history of teaching. So let's see here. Happiness Jamie says, y'all need to vote for Kelly Stewart for mayor of Johns Creek. She has the receipts on the Bradbury corruption. He turned. So I'm hoping, I hope that we get, really good people. I mean, you see the swamp of what we're dealing with going into 2026. I mean, we really, really need people to stand up and stand out here. But let's see here. Great. David Cross, good to see David. David was fire on War Room Georgia today. It's the only segment that I got to watch live, and it's a shame we don't have to go into all that. We did a pretty big podcast the other night about this. We was already kind of planned, talking about some of the things we've done after convention, things that have been kind of overlooked or not talked about, and then they dropped those draconian resolutions the same day, and it was like, oh, we've got a whole new playground to play with. So it's nastiness going on over there. Nick Ware says the only thing evil needs to succeed is for good people to do nothing. Yeah, that's right. Nick Ware's another one. Nick Ware ran for commissioner in Catoosa County, and I guarantee you, Hank, if you ever sat down and ate lunch with Nick, you'd probably be there for 6 hours. You'd love it. And this guy uses his brain, and he digs deep, and he would really, really do wonders in that county. So let's see here. Marcus Jean Francois says, okay, thank you for watching. Oren Wang here. Hopefully, I don't know Oren Wang, but we've been talking. I'd like to, I know he's wrote a book, and he seems like he's a pretty cool guy. Maybe we can get him on the show pretty soon.
He's a fine gentleman.
Yeah, I'm interested in interviewing him, and we're going to try to set that up soon. And he says, 4 years ago, I thought that Hank should run for U.S. Senate. Well, I mean, at this point, Hank, if you put your hat in for president, you would have my vote for this. I'm not even trying to give you a compliment. I mean, we've got to have more Hank Sullivans out there standing up against this this whatever we have going on in the state. I think that you pointed out something pretty obvious. The state is a lot more bruised than people would care to admit. And rather than trying to strengthen the laws or do away with the laws, shrink the government, do things right, it's all of these backroom deals that just skim the line, and some of them go over. And it's like, it's killing us. It's strangling us to death. And this is not working. We need more conservative voices and integral people to stand up and fix this garbage.
Just honesty, pure honesty. We can disagree on policy.
Yes.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having policy discussions, and if I disagree with someone, they have a chance to change my opinion about something, because many of these things are not great philosophical questions. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of whether you're going to run the water down that street or run it down this street. And so there's room for discussion in so many different things. They're just not great societal questions,
Mm-hmm.
but on those things that are really the kinds of things that make your soul ache. Those are the kinds of things that you cannot compromise
Mm-hmm.
on. Those are the things that, the name of that book, the name of it was Restoring American Principles. Well, one of those principles is that we hold these truths
Right.
to be self-evident. They're truths.
Mm-hmm.
They're laws of God.
Yes.
And so those are the things that we cannot compromise on.
Yeah.
But there are many, many things that you can compromise on, and you can come up with a good decision in the government that benefits a lot of people.
Yep.
But that's just not what's happening.
No, I agree. And, I'll tell you this, I've been around you enough and talked to you enough that you are one of those people that are always willing to sit down and discuss ideas, always willing to sit at a table. I think we need more of that too, because there's so many people that will just turn and walk away or get so disgusted by something and they just shut off communication, and it never ever works.
No.
But you're one of those guys, man. So
no, and you believe it or not, the people that I write about will never believe me, but I don't take any of this personal.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
This is just politics. This is just politics.
You are 100% right.
I can talk with anybody about anything, and if they just end up screaming at me like one of our commissioners did at the fair the other night, just screaming at me.
Look, you're 100% right, and that's a good takeaway, people. This is politics. This is a game of politics. This should not be taken personal. This is exactly why if I get a call from Josh McCoon or something in the morning saying, "Hey, I didn't want to talk to you," I will ask him questions and talk to him. It is not personal. I know people like to take it there. They like to manipulate with that emotional strings attached. This is nothing personal. You don't have to be personal when you're speaking truth. That's all there is to it. This is a certain way. This is happening a certain way. You either are going to lie about it or you're going to face it and you're going to fix it. That's it. So,
that's right.
All right, Hank. Well, look, I always give my guests the last word. I appreciate everybody hanging out with us tonight. If you are in Forsyth County, around Forsyth County, if you have any groups in Forsyth County, this video was meant primarily to share with people in Forsyth County because we have to be our own media, and we need Hank Sullivan down there, and obviously he's got opposition. So please share this video down in Forsyth. Because guess what? I can't do anything up here. Let's get it down to those people. So, Hank, I want to give you the last word.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to come on, and we'll do it again if you're a mind to it. But I would just say this. This is my first political campaign, and I'm ready to fund it all myself if I have to. But I would just as soon have a team of people that believe in what I'm saying, believe in what I would do in the county commission to help me out. And to do that, the easiest thing that you can do to find a way to contribute would just go to my last Substacks, like 3 of them, my last 2 of them, I guess. And I've got a little button there. You can read the article. You can see what's going on here. Click on contribute. It'll take you there. Then just help me to help you to try to rein in this crazy government that we got blossoming down here in Forsyth County, and I really would appreciate that.
Absolutely, Hank. In fact, as soon as we get off here, I'm going to subscribe to your Substack, and hopefully that subscription will help you along the way. That's a little bit that we can do from here, from Small Town Underground.
Well, I don't charge for subscriptions.
Oh, you don't?
I do not charge.
Okay.
I never charge for subscriptions. No.
Well, okay.
It's all free. Any of the information I put out, any of my analysis I put out, it's all free. Okay. But I have started putting in a contribute to campaign button on them. So that's the easiest way to find it.
Well, you best believe Small Town Underground, we're going to contribute to your campaign. I would love to have Hank Sullivan up here. Well, actually, we have a couple of Hank Sullivans up here in my neck of the woods. And like I said, awesome. Timing is everything. So, But look, man, I would love to have you back. I want to pick your brain on so many different things. I've watched a lot of your content, a lot of your speeches. You go into the weeds, like, you know, when you talk about 9/11 and all this stuff that's near and dear to my heart. And again, so you are welcome on the show anytime. But I just appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And,
gosh,
it's been fun,
back
man.
to you.
But we're
Back to you.
gonna keep up with you. And again, folks, I can't stress this enough. If you're not subscribed to Hank Sullivan's Substack, it is a must-have in Georgia. And we look forward to seeing you and your campaign trail and how it goes. And by the way, when is the vote for this position?
Well, this is going to be a primary. It's in May.
Okay.
Georgia primaries are in May.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's going to be on the same
Probably
schedule.
will not be a Democrat in the 1st district in Forsyth County. So whoever wins in May
Okay.
wins, really. So
Right.
that's
So we need to fight like hell until May. I got you.
that's right. That's
Okay.
right.
All right, guys. Well, look, we're going to go ahead and get off of here. We could probably go on for 2 more hours, but we'll do another one. And and Antonio said, let's have a tinfoil hat party. We could have a good round table and just really lay some stuff out. But you make me happy seeing you stand up, and it makes me want to stand up. You know, we're grateful to have you, and I appreciate
Thank you
your
for
time.
the encouragement. It means a lot to me.
All right, guys. Well, look, this is it for Wednesday night. We'll see what else is cooking. We got some things downstream that we're going to be planning. And as always, you can go to www.smalltownunderground.com. You can support me there. Go there. Buy a T-shirt if you want. And I got some pretty awesome stickers for the next time I'm out. Compliments of Bill Rainey, who made them for me. So, you know, that's a little way we can take. You can subscribe on Facebook. However you want to do it, it doesn't matter to me. Just I'm grateful that you're here, and we'll see you guys later.
Legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting booty.
He said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.